YouTube, bonjour, je vous retrouve pour un nouveau let's play sur la chaîne sur le jeu Truth, donc en français Vérité. Donc c'est un jeu de choix, un jeu à choix multiples que je vous propose sur la chaîne. Donc suite au live de Hot Color Out et de Abzu, qui étaient plutôt des jeux tranquilles, des jeux de détente. Et donc Abzu, un jeu indépendant de découverte aquatique. Et ben là, je vous propose un jeu à choix multiples. Donc on aura plusieurs scénarios possibles. Il faudra finir chaque fin. Il faudra trouver chaque fin pour convenir, pour obtenir le trophée platine du jeu. Alors c'est parti. Je vais juste faire un petit truc avant. Un petit check-up. Hop. Voilà. Alors j'ai mis le chat. C'est impeccable. Impeccable. Let's go. Allez, je vous laisse avec la cinématique. Je vous reprends après.
Welcome to Truth, the game show where we award a $1 million prize to the contestant chosen by our audience. We have 6 challengers hooked up to lie detectors, which I'll be monitoring. In every round, we ask each of them 5 questions chosen by our audience. Then we vote one off based on their answers. Let's meet our contestants. Why don't you each tell me a little about yourself?
I'm Joe. I'm 28, and I'm from Philly. Let's go Eagles.
My name is Alexis, and I'm born and raised in Beverly Hills.
My name is Sam. Hello. And I recently moved out here to Hollywood to get in the film industry. And I've been writing a long time before I even got to town. And I've got a lot of scripts. I'm willing to show them. Hit me up. And I'm very excited to be on the show.
I'm Autumn. I'm a California native, and I grew up right here in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Claire. I've never been on TV before. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I go by Lilith, and I'm from Van Nuys, California.
Let's see what the audience wants to ask first.
Alors, on va lui poser la question suivante, c'est-à-dire celle-ci.
What would you do with the money?
Well, my ex-wife would probably get most of it. She's supposed to get half my income, but the judge hates me, so she always gets the bigger half. But if I got money, I'd pay off my credit cards, finish paying off my bike, and finally have some money in the bank for once. That'd be nice.
What is your most embarrassing memory?
Man, I once tried dating 2 girls in the same night, and that did not go well. I was out with this one girl, and we were having a great time, and then I drove her home. I went inside. We fooled around a little bit. That was fun. And yeah, I said goodbye, went to this bar, and I met this other chick, and she was digging me, and I was digging her, and yeah, we left. I took her home, and it's the same home. Like, they're roommates, dude. So I'm like, okay, Joe, don't push your luck. Let's go home. But no, man, I don't know. I thought, like, maybe the first girl would be sleeping, or, like, best case, who knows, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I went inside, and sure enough, the first girl sitting there, like, watching TV. These girls laid it on me. They got up. They yelled at me. I'm like, I'm sorry. You're beautiful, both of you. Yeah, that sucked. that was, whew, not my finest hour. Yikes.
What is your most controversial or unpopular opinion?
I think more people should ride motorcycles. Motorcycles are sweet, dude. Like, oh, people like their hybrid cars, they only get 50 miles per gallon. Motorcycles get that kind of mileage, and they're cool, and no traffic, and they cost like a fraction of the price of a car. $5,000 for a bike, and that's a good one, dude. Yeah, bikes are sweet. Easy to find parking, too. Wherever, whenever.
What is your biggest regret?
Marrying my high school sweetheart. My ex-wife. Ex-wife. No more. No thank you. Yeah, we were miserable. And now I pay alimony every month.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
Yeah, so I was the toughest kid in my high school, right? Everybody knew that about me. There was this guy, though. He was 6'8", freakishly tall, big guy. Everyone was like, oh, he's tough. Like, oh, he could take you. I hated that. What, you're tall, so that gives you grit? Bullshit. So, plus the guy, he was in honors classes. He must have been a nerd. No way he could take me. One day, it got to me. I called him out in the hallway. I egged him on. He didn't want to fight. I said, let's go. Not only did he beat my ass, but he beat it so badly. It was just, I was bruising for days, man. Best part is, though, we became best friends, and yeah, the rest is history. I don't know, I picked a fight with a giant, got my ass beat. That was stupid. Yeah, that was stupid.
What would you do with the money?
Oh, I have a financial advisor that handles my money for me. My parents use them. They're really good.
What is your most embarrassing memory?
I was at a party once, and Lady Gaga showed up in the same outfit as me. How am I supposed to compete with Gaga? That was so humiliating.
What is your most controversial or unpopular opinion?
Okay. There's this James Bond movie called The World Is Not Enough, where Denise Richards plays a physicist. Everyone was making fun of it, saying that she did a terrible job and that it was sexist of them to cast her. Here's the thing. She did fine. If she was more plain looking, I guarantee nobody would have said anything. The people who are saying that it was sexist are the sexist ones. They don't believe that a woman can be hot and smart enough to be a scientist. And that's the most sexist thing you can do.
What is your biggest regret?
I once turned down a modeling job because I would have had to go to Milan for 4 weeks. I was in high school at the time, so I might have had to repeat a year. In hindsight, it was a very famous photographer, so it would have helped my modeling career. I should have gone.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
I once bought this outfit and I posted on Instagram, #newoutfit. What I didn't realize is that I posted in the same exact outfit that I bought a few months earlier. People thought I was lying, but I just forgot that I bought the same outfit. People still bring it up in the comments to this day.
What would you do with the money?
Well, I've been working on a film for several years. It's kind of like my main baby when it comes to screenwriting. but I haven't had the capital to produce it. It's a superhero film, but get this. In most superhero movies, someone gets powers. They either become the good guy or the bad guy. What if they just still remain a guy and they don't use the powers? Maybe they're like, they try them out, but then they're like, you know what? I'm just going to stick to my regular life. And it's a superhero film that turns into just a slice of life normal guy film because he doesn't use them. And then at the end, when you think he's like, oh, he's about to save the day, the powers get reversed and he loses them.
What is your most embarrassing memory?
Oh, yeah. I got an embarrassing memory. My most embarrassing memory was, okay, so I was maybe like 4 or 5 years old, and we were at a neighbor's house, the Harrises. They were the only house on the block that had a pool. So we'd go over there for summer afternoons, pool parties. So I was in the pool this one time with my dad, and I told him I had to pee. And he told me, just go in the pool. That's what everyone does. So again, I was really young. This was like probably right before kindergarten. And I peed in the pool and it was fine. So that became a normal thing. I would go, if I was in the pool, I would pee in the pool. Well, one summer, again, I was very young, maybe kindergarten. There was a big pool party. It was a birthday. Everyone was there from my class, the neighbors, and I had to go. I wasn't in the pool. I was standing right outside the pool, and I figured, oh, if I have to go, just go in the pool. And I stood there and peed into the pool. I quickly learned that that was wrong. Everyone was horrified. They cleared out the pool. Party was almost over. It was like I ruined the birthday. And that stigma stuck with me, let's see, if that was kindergarten, almost until high school. Yeah, I was the pool peer. Not my proudest moment.
What is your most controversial or unpopular opinion?
Okay. Well, my most controversial / unpopular opinion, a lot of people say that it's pretty bogus that Superman just puts on a pair of glasses and he becomes Clark Kent and no one knows who he is. No one can recognize him. I actually think that checks out. See, I've thought about this a lot. Now, if there's this hero and then you see someone who's kind of your normal neighbor, you wouldn't associate that. Like, your mind wouldn't go there. So, like, here's an example. Let's say you have a neighbor who looks exactly like Barack Obama, but his hair is a little different, and he wears glasses, and he's got a normal job. Let's say he works at a gas station, and you wouldn't say, my neighbor, James, who works at the gas station, has glasses, is ex-president of the United States, Barack Obama. You'd say, oh, that guy kind of looks like Barack Obama, but it's not Barack Obama. Same thing. You wouldn't say, oh, Clark, who, like, is a cub reporter for the Daily Planet, he can't be Superman. He's a bumbling goof. He slightly looks like Superman. Remember, Clark is like uncoordinated. Clark is like, you know, bad at life. Superman is the best. So like you would not make that leap. I think it would totally work. Unpopular opinion, and I stand by it.
What is your biggest regret?
My biggest regret. Okay. Years ago, I used to work at a video store. Back in the day and age where they actually had video stores, where you didn't have everything at your fingertips streaming. And I worked with this girl named Rebecca, and we got along so good. We were jokey, we had banter, but the thing I was oblivious to at the time was that she was flirting with me. Like, she was into me. And the crazy thing is, I had a crush on her, but I was in the dark to her feelings about me. But now, years later, I can think back. I'm like, oh yeah, she was totally flirting with me. She, like, how did I miss that? Nothing happened, and that is a major regret. I might take that one to my grave.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
Dumbest thing I ever did. How do I choose just one? Okay. I was camping outside a store waiting to buy a game console. So it was going to be released, and I wanted to get there early. I wanted to make sure that I got one. And I set up a tent. I was going to sleep outside the store. I was there for 28 hours in my tent. The night before the store opened, when they were going to sell the console, it was go time. I went to sleep in my tent, had my phone with me. I didn't have any way to charge my phone, and my alarm didn't go off in the morning because my phone ran out of juice. I woke up 3 hours after the store opened, and I did not get the console. I slept in a tent on a sidewalk, got back problems from it, for what ended up being no reason whatsoever.
What would you do with the money?
Pharmaceutical companies test drugs on puppies and other small animals all the time, then just abandon them when they're done. Someone needs to do something about it. If I win, I plan on using the money to open a rehab center so I can help those poor puppies recover and live normal lives.
What is your most embarrassing memory?
I came across a small group of people protesting outside a chemical plant, and I got excited and I called all of my friends, and we all joined in to show our support. Chemical plants are always terrible for the environment, so we were more than happy to be a part of the protest. But as it turned out, it wasn't a protest at all. It was a picket line. The plant was temporarily shut down while all the workers were on strike, and all of us extra people showing up helped convince management to give in to their demands and end the strike. We were trying to get the place shut down, but instead we got them to reopen it earlier than they otherwise would have. So, yeah.
What is your most controversial or unpopular opinion?
Owning pets is wrong and should be illegal. If your dog or cat isn't free to come and go as they please, they're not your pet, they're your prisoner.
What is your biggest regret?
Working normal jobs and living a normal life as long as I did. I was always miserable when I was working. Even when I was off the clock, I was miserable. So I got out of the rat race a few years ago, and I've never been happier.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
We heard they were going to cut down a huge area of forest, so about 20 of us went out there the night before to protest. We chained ourselves to trees so they'd have to delay their logging until they could get rid of us. Only we were in the wrong place. They were logging about a half a mile away, so no one knew we were there for almost a week. By the time someone found us, we were out of food and water, and we thought we were going to die. The guy who found us went to ask the loggers for help, and they had to cut down the trees we were chained to in order to free us. All we accomplished was getting an extra 20 trees cut down and almost dying in the process.
What would you do with the money?
I would hire a private investigator to help me find my daughter Mallory. We got separated on a fishing trip quite a few years ago now, and I spent all my time and my resources finding her, going from city to city, but she's always moved on. So, yeah, a private investigator could be life-changing for me.
What is your most embarrassing memory?
Oh, gosh, there's been quite a few things in my life that are embarrassing, but... You know, those people on trains that go around checking everyone's tickets that they've got the right tickets? Well, it was my high school reunion, and I pretended that I was one of those people, that was my job, so that everyone would think I was really successful. But then it turned out in the group there was somebody who was a real ticket checker, and they told everyone that I wasn't. They didn't, I didn't have that job. They knew I didn't, they never saw me at work. It was so embarrassing. They really dropped me in it.
What is your most controversial or unpopular opinion?
Most people think you need milk to eat cereal. I completely disagree. It's so extortionate. The prices of milk nowadays. I mean, no way. I just use water, and it's delicious. I love my cereal with water when I can find cereal.
What's your biggest regret?
Well, that's easy. That would be the fishing trip I took my daughter Mallory on 20 years ago. Well, obviously I couldn't afford a boat. So we borrowed 2 floating pool chairs and off we went out into the ocean. It was a beautiful day. Unfortunately, I got caught in an undercurrent and I was swept off to a desert island. I saw she made it back to shore. It took me so long to get off the desert island that by the time I got home, she'd moved on, and I've not been able to find her since.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
Oh, well, that was sleeping in a dumpster. I mean, it seems like a good idea, right? You know, there's a lid on them, keeps you dry when it's wet. Unfortunately, I fell asleep and the garbage truck came by, and I woke up to find myself being tumbled into the garbage truck and being compacted in beside everything else. It took me 3 days to free myself from the block I was in the landfill.
What would you do with the money?
I'd start my own cult, dedicated to summoning Cthulhu and bringing about the end of days.
What is your most embarrassing memory?
When I was 6 years old, my parents forced me to attend the birthday party of the girl who lived next door. They fed me copious amounts of candies, cakes, ice ice cream. I got caught up in such a sugar rush, I actually participated in their games. The worst part was, afterwards, many of these peasants actually thought we were friends.
What is your most controversial or unpopular opinion?
I believe that we should bring back public execution. We're already executing people in 27 states. Why not sell tickets? I know some people really hate the death penalty, but they should love this idea. Executing these prisoners in private only helps the masses not to think about it. Making it public will bring attention to it, and it gives the rest of us something to do.
What is your biggest regret?
That's easy. There are many people I've encountered in my life who I didn't kill, even though they clearly deserved it. And now it's too late. I wouldn't even know where to find them.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
This rich couple used to pay me to sit for their dog. And one day he died on my watch. So I buried him in the backyard, replaced him with a look-alike from the local pet shop. The couple comes home. The new dog won't stop barking, yapping, nipping. I said he was acting normal during my watch. I got paid and I left. Anyway, he ends up biting one of them. So they put him outside, where he digs up the original, who turns out wasn't as dead as I thought. So they decided they needed to call me, text me more than dozens of times, asking me why I would bury their dog alive and try and replace him with an evil clone. I figured there was no way explaining my way out of that one, so I didn't reply.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Rebecca Cartwright. Have you been injured in an automobile accident or hurt on the job? Has your case already been settled and you've been awarded a large sum of money? Call Rebecca Cartwright, 555-1258. Rebecca is 25, single, and looking for a long-lasting relationship. Must love dogs. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The audience has voted to send home Joe.
That's fine. My ex and her loser boyfriend would probably get the money anyways because our legal system sucks. So, whatever.
What is your most embarrassing guilty pleasure?
Prima Cinema. It's this service where you can watch a new movie at home the day it's released in theaters. I love watching movies, and I have a home theater, so why wouldn't I use it?
What is the worst way you've betrayed a friend?
I sorta stole someone's boyfriend once. Well, it wasn't her boyfriend. My friend Brooke had a really big crush on this musician, and I told her to DM him, but she was too nervous to, so I DM'd him for her. He wasn't interested in her, so he ended up asking me out, and we dated for a bit. I can tell it made my friend a little uncomfortable, so that was one of the reasons why I broke up with him.
What is your favorite holiday?
My birthday falls on Christmas, so I get double presents every year. What can compete with that?
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people ahead of you on the tracks who do not have time to get off the tracks. If you continue forward, you will run over all 5 and they will die. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you choose to change tracks, the 5 people on the first track will live, but the one person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
I don't know anything about trolleys, but if I had a job driving one, I'm sure that they would teach me how to handle that situation in trolley school.
Have you ever cheated on anyone?
No, I would never do that. And I've proven it. I was asked out by Ryan Gosling, and I said no. I was dating a guy at the time. We weren't serious, but I don't cheat.
What is your most embarrassing guilty pleasure?
Yeah, my most embarrassing guilty pleasure, I like to go back and rewatch the cartoons from my childhood. I don't do it all the time, but when I think of one and I haven't seen it in a while, I'll look it up, I'll see where it's streaming or where I can find it, and then I will watch the crap out of it from front to back and relive my childhood a little bit. Maybe take out some of my old action figures. Yeah, that is an embarrassing guilty pleasure.
What is the worst way you've betrayed a friend?
Oh, I try not to betray friends, but okay. I spoiled Avengers Infinity War for several of my friends and coworkers. So, opening night, I saw it twice. I got my tickets in advance for 2 showings right in a row, back to back. I was at the theater for like 6 hours just downloading Infinity War, and it was awesome. But I'm like, okay, Friday, maybe people haven't seen it yet. Over the weekend, I saw it 2 more times. I go into work Monday. I assume that everyone has seen it. It's a phenomenon. It's like the movie grossed like $2 billion. I don't know how much everyone saw it. I assume they all saw it opening weekend. And I started going on about the people we lost, the Avengers we lost, the snap. I really spoiled that movie for a lot of people. I had a lot of apologizing to do that day. And if you're watching, let me just say once again, I am so sorry. I promise you, I am now keeping it spoiler-free.
What is your favorite holiday?
Yeah, my favorite holiday is definitely Pi Day. March 14th, 3/14, aka 3.14, as in pi. And I love it. It's not an official holiday yet, anyway, but every Pi Day, I go to a competition where, first off, there are many varieties of pie, blueberry, apple, we indulge. And then there's the competition part of it where they see who can name the most numbers after the decimal point from memory. And I won it once. I named 1,826 numbers from memory. But that's not the world record. And I don't know if I'll ever get close to that. The world record is 70,000 from memory. Happy Pi Day.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people on the tracks ahead of you who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you change tracks, the 5 people on the first track will live, but the person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
This is just basic logic. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. So I would change tracks to kill 1 instead of 5.
Have you ever cheated on anyone?
No. And I don't think I ever would. Not even if I had the chance. Although I did cheat on a math test once in junior high. And I couldn't live with myself afterwards, so I wouldn't even cheat on a test again.
What is your most embarrassing guilty pleasure?
Walking naked through the woods. I'm much more comfortable around trees and flowers than I am around people.
What's the worst way you've betrayed a friend?
I gave a lot of my friends chlamydia. In fairness, some of them probably had it already. We're all very open about our sexuality. That's just the type of people I vibe with.
What is your favorite holiday?
Arbor Day. I like that there's a holiday that's for trees and not humans. I always try to spend that day hanging out in the woods, away from people.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people ahead of you on the tracks who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5 of them. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you decide to change tracks, the 5 people on the first track will live, but the one person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
I change tracks and hit the one person. The only argument I can see for staying on the current track is that I might feel guilty if I actively made a decision that killed one person. But one person dying and me feeling guilty about it certainly isn't as bad as 5 people dying.
Have you ever cheated on anyone?
Yes and no. No, not really. I don't believe in monogamy. I would never have a one-on-one relationship. I do mess around with multiple partners, but they all know that we're in an open relationship, so it's not cheating. They're all allowed to have multiple partners too, and most of them do. Even saying that they're allowed to have multiple partners sounds wrong to me. I just don't understand monogamy. How can you tell another person they aren't allowed to do things that make them happy? That just seems so controlling to me. I could never do that to someone, or let someone do that to me.
What is your most embarrassing guilty pleasure?
I love window shopping at those really fancy stores that only rich people shop at. Like Walmart, I go and I look and I think, oh, if I was wealthy, I could have that and that and that. It would be so glamorous if I could really afford to buy things there, but, you know, who can?
What is the worst way you've betrayed a friend?
Well, that would be my friend Emily from high school. We were paired together for a science project, and she looked after this egg that we were given for the first week, and I was to look after it for the second week. And I did it great. The egg was perfect, and I was carrying it into school on the last day of the project to give to Emily to hand to the teacher. I got chased by a coyote, and of course I dropped the egg, and then the coyote ate the egg, and I just thought, I can't let Emily down. Like, I don't want to betray my friend and disappoint her. And I remembered, though, that I had seen a bird's nest on the way to school a few days before, so I went back. And sure enough, there's an egg in the bird's nest. It was maybe like a slightly bluer shade of grey than the egg would be given, but I thought, nobody's going to notice. So I took it into school, handed it to Emily. She was just about to give it to the teacher, and a red-tailed hawk flew in the window and violently attacked Emily for touching her baby's egg. And so not only did we not get an A, Emily was in intensive care for 3 weeks, and things were never the same with us again.
What's your favorite holiday?
Oh, well, that's easy. It's Thanksgiving. You know, when you're homeless like I am, it's really hard to find places to sleep. But on Thanksgiving, I can sleep in front of any storefront, entrance, window, and everyone just thinks I'm queuing for the Black Friday sales, and I get left alone. It's pure bliss and just warms my heart every Thanksgiving.
You're the conductor. On a runaway trolley, there are 5 people on the tracks ahead of you who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5 of them. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track which only has 1 person on it. If you decide to change tracks, all 5 people on the first track will live, but the person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
Before answering that, what you have to understand is that being run over by a trolley doesn't have to be fatal. I've survived it at least twice now, and after an extended hospital stay, I was completely fine. You just have to avoid being crushed by the wheels when you're underneath. So, in answer to your question, your morality question, of course you switch to where the one person is, because there's just not room under there for a crowd.
Have you ever cheated on anyone?
Certainly not. I have been ever faithful to my one true love, my husband, who I've not seen since the fishing trip, but he's my one and all.
What's your most embarrassing guilty pleasure?
I like to turn off movies at the sad part, right before the end, and say that's the ending. It works for every movie. For example, in action movies, where it looks like the hero is lost. In romantic comedies, where the couple breaks up and it looks like they'll never see each other again. You get a much more satisfying ending that way. You should try it.
What is the worst way you've betrayed a friend?
I don't have friends, but I have betrayed people. When I was in high school, there was a girl in my class who told me she wanted to kill herself. And I could have helped her, but I didn't. And in hindsight, I do wish I had. I ran into her recently, and she's married to a loser, has 2 ugly children, and works part-time as a waitress. If I had helped her commit suicide back then, she wouldn't be suffering like that. I offered to kill her now, but apparently it's too late. She doesn't want to die anymore.
And what is your favorite holiday?
I think it's a tie between Memorial Day. There's more murders in the U.S. on Memorial Day than any other day of the year. And All Hallows Eve, when the boundaries between the land of the living and the land of the dead are the thinnest.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people on the tracks ahead of you who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only 1 person on it. If you decide to change tracks, all 5 people on the original track will live, but the person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
So if I stay on the first track, I get to kill 5 people without the possibility of getting in any trouble whatsoever. But if I change tracks, I only get to kill 1, and there's a possibility that I go to prison. Why would I possibly change tracks? Is this a trick question? Is there a way to kill all 6? If there is, I don't see it. I'd stay on the first track and settle for 5.
Have you cheated on anyone?
Of course I have. I don't answer to men. If I choose to hook up with a guy, he should be eternally grateful. I certainly don't have any obligations to him afterwards.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by onesock.com. Does it always seem like you have an odd number of socks for some reason? Onesock.com lets you buy 1 individual sock so you can finally even things out. That's onesock.com. Use offer code TRUTH, and they'll include a second sock absolutely free. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The audience has voted to send home Sam.
You know, coming in, I knew I had a 1 in 6 chance. Not a bad chance, but not perfect. So I'm not surprised I have to go home.
What's the most serious law you've ever broken?
I used to have steaks flown in from this place that I love in France. I stopped when I found out it was illegal to import meats. I don't know how serious of a crime that is, but I'm glad I never found out the hard way.
What is your most unusual talent?
I'm a really good cook. If I had to live in the old days where people had to cook their own meals, I could buy just fine.
Describe a typical day in your life.
My days are really busy. My trainer wakes me up at 8, then I hit the gym for 2 hours. I head downstairs to get breakfast, then I take a shower, get my hair and makeup done, then I get dressed, and I take my first selfie of the day. Then I talk to my agent and she tells me what photo shoots I have or other obligations. On the rare days that I'm not that busy, I get to come on things like this show.
What's your most unusual pet peeve?
Pet peeve. When my chihuahua poops in my purse. I carry her around everywhere in my bag. I wish they made like a harness so I can carry her around like a purse. And then they had pockets so I wouldn't need another purse at all.
What's your happiest memory?
When I was 8 years old, my parents bought me my first pony. They made sure it was a surprise by telling me I wouldn't get one until I was 10 years old. Then I went outside, and there she was, with a big bow. It was extra surprising because it wasn't even my birthday.
What is the most serious law you have ever broken?
I smoked a lot of weed in states where it wasn't legal yet. I guess I've technically sold it too, which would be a more serious crime. I was never a drug dealer, but if I bought a bunch and then some of my friends bought off of me, I guess that's technically selling drugs, even if I'm not charging them a markup. In terms of legal penalties, that would be the most serious. The penalties for drug-related charges are ridiculous in this country.
What is your most unusual talent?
I know how to survive in the wilderness. I can tell what's edible. I can build a shelter and a fire. I can clean water so it's safe to drink. Just survival skills in general. I don't like being dependent on money or on society, so I learned how to get by on my own.
Describe a typical day in your life.
I live in my van now by choice. When I wake up, I usually drive to the gym so I can work out and get a shower. After breakfast, I usually work one of those food delivery apps for about an hour. I can't stand a normal job, but I can handle those apps in small doses. Once I'm done, I relax for the rest of the day. I go to the beach a lot. Every day feels like a day off because I don't have a regular day job or a boss to deal with. It's pretty great, to be honest.
What's your most unusual pet peeve?
Oh, it drives me crazy when people throw away plastic bottles with the cap screwed on. I understand that people are busy and can't always do much to help the environment, but all they have to do in this case is not screw the cap back on. If they put the cap on, then there's air trapped in the bottle and it won't flatten out in the landfill. Just leave the cap off and the bottle will get crushed and it will take up way less space. It literally takes less than no effort.
What's your happiest memory?
That's easy. First time I went to Burning Man. It wasn't that I loved Burning Man. Back then, I worked myself to death at my office job. I only averaged maybe 50 hours per week, but the stress, it stayed with me all the time, so it felt like 100. Burning Man was the very first vacation I ever took. Once I got to feel what it was like to be free from work for multiple days straight, it changed my life. I stopped working a corporate job, stopped obsessing over money, and now I'm finally happy.
What's the most serious law you've ever broken?
international piracy law. When I was lost at sea one time, I thought all was lost. But a pirate ship came by and actually rescued me. Now, you've heard bad things about pirates, and so had I, but they could not have been nicer. They gave me a job to do on ships so that I could earn my keep when I was there, and everything was going great until they got superstitious. They are superstitious, so they thought for some reason it might be bad luck that I was on board with them. So they were just about to drop me off when we got raided by a Russian Navy ship who put us all in a Russian jail for 5 years for piracy.
What is your most unusual talent?
My most unusual talent. Because, I mean, I've got quite a few talents, but... You know, it's funny because some people think that it's unusual that I can digest grass. Now, I couldn't always digest grass. Humans are not known for their ability to digest grass, but if you really persevere after the first, 40 to 50 upset stomachs, your body does change and it can do it and adapt. And, I mean, I don't recommend if you've got any kind of, IBS or anything, but other than that, totally works for me, saves me a fortune.
Describe a typical day in your life.
A typical day in my life is searching for my missing daughter, Mallory. And, really it is one of the big benefits to being homeless and unemployed is that I have no ties. I've nothing holding me back and stopping me from hitchhiking out there, getting on the road, heading to the last town that I've heard that she was in. When I get to the town, usually I find out that she's just left there suddenly. So I'll search for a soup kitchen or a dumpster, get something nice to eat, and then maybe a place to shelter until I hit the road again the next morning trying to find Mallory.
What is your most unusual pet peeve?
Unusual pet peeve. Well, I tell you, there's a phrase that people overuse all the time, and it really does my head in because people say lightning never strikes twice. Well, I can tell you it does. It struck me 4 times, so that phrase is total nonsense. It's a bum steer.
What's your happiest memory?
Well, that's a no-brainer. My happiest memory is the day my beautiful daughter Mallory was born. I had her in the hospital and everything. I mean, I was already in the hospital because I'd been bitten by a raccoon. And I suppose it would have been easier if I'd had a doctor present, but I got stuck in an elevator on the way to the maternity floor. There I was, with the raccoon I brought with me to get tested for the rabies. It got loose and I had to fend that off for a while. Even so, out Mallory came and life was perfect.
What's the most serious law you have ever broken?
See, the problem with that question is that you need to be caught, tried, and convicted for you to be breaking the law. Now, say I shoot someone. Was it self-defense? Was it manslaughter? Was it murder? Until it gets in front of a jury, we just don't know. And I'm not dumb enough to get caught and have to be put in front of a jury.
What is your most unusual talent?
I'm an expert at falconry. I have a small collection of extremely well-trained birds of prey. I find owls to be particularly useful.
Describe a typical day in your life.
I wake up, I eat breakfast, I feed my familiars, I go to work. When I get home, I like to relax and work on my bug collection.
What's your most unusual pet peeve?
I hate it when people whistle, or sing, or hum, or smile, or breathe.
What is your happiest memory?
When I was in the 4th grade, our teacher had a seizure in front of the whole class and died. We got to go home early. It was a double win.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by placebos. Are you a hypochondriac? Ask your doctor if placebos are right for you. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The audience has voted to send home Claire. Oh, I am so sorry, Claire.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks so much for having me. It's just been so exciting to be here. And I've never won anything, so I didn't expect to win today anyway, but I'm just glad I could take part.
What is your proudest accomplishment?
My proudest accomplishment. I would probably say when I hit 1 million followers. That wasn't my only milestone, but that one definitely stuck with me.
If you found a wallet, would you return it?
I always return wallets when I find them. Every time. It's the right thing to do.
What were you like as a child?
I was super busy as a kid. I couldn't decide what I wanted to be when I grew up, so my parents made sure I was ready for anything. I took singing lessons, acting lessons, modeling lessons. You could say I got a really well-rounded education, so I'm ready for any job at this point.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an Instagram model. I still live with my parents, but I can move out if I wanted to. Our house is so big that I feel like it would be a waste to move out. We have so many empty rooms, I'm not even sure if I've seen them all.
If you were going to be stranded on an island with one person of your choosing, who would it be?
I don't have the skills to survive on an island, so it would probably have to be some guy who can take care of me. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone, but I'm sure if I posted on Instagram, I would have some very qualified volunteers.
What is your proudest accomplishment?
I organized a demonstration to save a park, and it worked. They were going to level the place and build a distribution center. We had people protesting at the site for 3 weeks straight and got over 1,000 names on the petition. They ended up building the distribution center on the site of a nearby abandoned mall instead, so we didn't lose any jobs or anything. It was a complete win.
If you found a wallet, would you return it?
I would return it, but I wouldn't be doing the owner a favor by doing so. People are obsessed with money and credit cards. They think money will buy them the freedom to enjoy life. Really, the quest to acquire wealth just makes you a slave to your employer. Still, it's their wallet, so of course I'd return it.
What were you like as a child?
I was a straight A student. I had perfect attendance and all that. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized how conforming to society's standards was actually a bad thing. If I could go back and do it again, I'd focus more on enjoying my childhood.
What do you do for a living?
I escaped the rat race a few years ago. I cut all my expenses drastically, so now I only need a few $100 a month to survive. I deliver food through those gig apps, but only 2 or 3 orders per day, just enough to get by. I find if I make more money than I need, I just end up buying stuff that clutters my life and makes me less happy.
If you were going to be stranded on an island with one person of your choosing, who would it be?
I know the standard answer is to name someone really hot who you want to sleep with, but that's actually pretty cruel. You're basically condemning the person you picked to be stranded on a deserted island. That's a pretty awful thing to do to someone. I'd pick no one. I'd be stuck on the island by myself.
That's a lie.
This is embarrassing. I forgot I was hooked up to a lie detector. I'd pick Chris Hemsworth. Sorry, Chris.
What's your proudest accomplishment?
I once had these neighbors who liked to hang outside on their porch all day, blaring terrible music. I thought I could take a bat to their stereo myself and end it, but they, of course, had cameras. So I took a picture of their stereo and posted it to Craigslist under the free stuff category. Got somebody else just to take the whole stereo away. As a bonus, they also took all of their patio furniture. They never hung around outside after that.
If you found a wallet, would you return it?
I found a wallet once. I looked up the owner on social media. It turned out to be some racist, sexist loser who was inexplicably married. I kept the cash, and I went to return the wallet to his home when I knew he would be at work. I told his wife that he left it behind during a one-night stand.
What were you like as a child?
I had a big bullying problem when I was in school. I would speak to guidance counselors, the principal about it. But every time we thought it was under control, something would happen. Like one day, a group of children decided to hold a spelling bee at lunch. For fun. What was I supposed to do? Not beat any of them up.
What do you do for a living?
I have a small stand in Hollywood where I read people's fortunes from tarot cards. Now, tarot cards don't actually predict the future, but most people don't know that. Most fortune tellers will also keep their predictions vague so they can't get caught when they're lying. I don't do that. I tell all of my customers that they're going to die in a horrific car crash about 2 years out from the day they come see me. I love seeing their reactions. Plus, the really stupid ones pay for longer sessions so they can ask me a bunch of follow-up questions.
If you're going to be stranded on an island with one person of your choosing, who would it be?
Jeff Tucker. He's an old boss of mine. I really hate him. If he were trapped on that island with me, I could torture him endlessly, and he'd have no chance to escape. I could be entertained for years that way.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter K. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The audience has voted to send home Autumn.
It's probably for the best I didn't win. Lots of money rarely leads to happiness.
If you could have any job, what would it be?
I want to design handbags and accessories. I've considered designing clothes, but I think accessories is my real passion.
What was your childhood dream?
I'm a huge Disney fan. When I was growing up, all I ever wanted to do was date a prince and live happily ever after. Then I grew up, and I realized how unrealistic that fantasy is. I've dated a prince, and they're not charming like in the movies.
What is your biggest fear?
Getting a pimple. I've known people who have had one, and they say it's awful. That's why I do a strict regimen of cleansing, toning, and moisturizing to make sure I don't get one. I heard it can happen to anyone.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Start acting and modeling earlier. I was 9 years old when I started. Other girls had a huge head start on me by then, so I had to play catch up.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Shape-shifting. If I could shape-shift, I wouldn't have to work out and watch what I eat every single day. And I can still have this figure.
If you could have any job, what would it be?
Supreme ruler of Earth. You said any job. Who wouldn't want to rule Earth? If anybody says anything else, they're lying, and their lie detector should go off. Totalitarianism can be a very effective form of government with the right ruler. Look at Vlad the Impaler. Sure, he has his critics. Some have said his methods were too harsh. But look at his empire and how smoothly it was run. Hardly any crime. I could do that. I could be the next Vlad the Impaler.
What was your childhood dream?
I've always wanted to be possessed by a demon. That's still my dream. Maybe one day I can make it happen.
What is your biggest fear?
having to get one of those normal peasant jobs. One where there's a boss to report to and a clock to punch. I tried it when I was younger, and it still gives me nightmares. Not the fun kind.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't ever join a witch coven. It'll seem like a good idea at the time. But the people calling themselves witches these days, they aren't practicing real witchcraft. They're such a disappointment.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Necromancy. Anyone can take a living person, turn them into a dead one. To take a dead one, turn them back into a living one. That would really be something. Just imagine, if you really hated somebody, you could kill them, bring them back, kill them again, bring them back, kill them again. And then they'd have to live with the anticipation, knowing that eventually you're going to find them. They just don't know when. They don't know how. Plus, having your own legion of the undead would be pretty useful.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Vegas Tales, the full-motion video game from the makers of Truth. A wealthy resort owner is dying and needs you to help decide who should inherit his estate. You'll be interviewing some over-the-top characters and helping choose who will become extremely wealthy. Be careful, as there may be more to some than meets the eye. Vegas Tales is available now on your favorite gaming platform. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The $1 million prize is going to Lilith.
Maybe there's hope for this audience yet. May Cthulhu's judgment upon you be swift.
Et je vais m'en arrêter là pour ce live, les amis. Donc c'était Duck Mask, donc le rendez-vous sur le live du jeu Vérité. Donc si vous avez aimé le contenu, n'hésitez pas à liker la rediffusion du live, vous abonner à la chaîne afin de me soutenir. Des bisous les fratés, prenez soin de vous, sortez couvert et ciao, bye bye.